Finally, his funeral was last week. Due to their poor relationship with him and lack of communication for 8 years, I wasn't expecting his parents to attend. My husband left his family and said he'd never speak to them again, for good reason. My in-laws had a golden child and never told my husband. My brother-in-law, Jack, 50, has always been a bad seed and alcoholic. Despite his actions, his parents have always preferred him to my spouse. Despite that, my husband tried to help his parents and brother. He was a family man, but they never valued him. And when we started dating, I noticed how differently they were treated at home. I begged my husband to stand up for himself multiple times, but he said this was his family and he wanted to be kind to them no matter what. Too kind for his own good. After he started dating me, he stopped accepting their BS and sometimes stood up for himself because I kept reminding him that if they were treating him this badly, this was not the kind of family he needed. After 3 years, he didn't tolerate his family's behavior and wouldn't accept it. That caused friction since they were so used to walking all over him that they couldn't believe this new version and thought I might have been a part of it, since he had started changing since we met. Their attempt to manipulate my spouse into leaving me failed and strengthened our connection. Thus, my in-laws and I have always fought. Except I've been right and they've always been awful to us. I was astonished when they attended the funeral with Jack. Since we last interacted, the disagreement between my husband and I ended badly, and we left. I didn't have a nice relationship with my in-laws after my husband and I were married since we were attempting to remove ourselves from them. However, we attended their Christmas dinner out of respect. However, when we arrived, we realized we had made a big mistake because all they did at the party was speak about how my husband's new business will fail. We addressed his parents after the party. They said they were helping him realize this was wrong and that he should stop emulating his brother because Jack had started a similar business after my husband revealed his. For example, we recycle plastic. Unlike Jack, we researched the market and knew what we were doing. After a huge fight, we left, vowing never to talk to them again. Jack's business failed because he lacked my husband's aptitude and didn't work hard. He expected to profit from my husband's efforts. After 8 years, they never contacted us again. I'm sure they knew my husband was diagnosed, yet they never spoke to us or visited him in the hospital. Their funeral attendance was remarkable. My attention was elsewhere during the service, and they approached me afterward. I refused to listen to their politeness. I kept a straight face and told them they may offer condolences but had to leave since I didn't want to talk to them. When my husband was alive, I didn't want to interact with them. Since he was gone, I had less reason to talk to them. I made that plain. So they stopped acting and his parents informed me they needed to talk alone. I advised them to wait until everyone went since I wouldn't have time to talk to them. They wanted to chat about what? I was fascinated. They and I spoke outside the venue after everyone departed. Jack went, with everyone else without waiting. So simply my in-laws and I talked. They informed me they considered visiting my husband in the hospital, but they decided against it because he was already sick and they didn't want to bother him. It was ridiculous to not visit their son on his deathbed, but I didn't expect anything less from them. Because I had a hard day and didn't want to waste further time with them, I told them I didn't need any justification for what they did, and they needed to be direct. They were upset when I talked in that tone, but they deserved it. However, they said they were coming to say farewell to their son. They also wanted to discuss his belongings with me. Everyone knew I would take over the business after him. Though it was his idea, I was with him throughout the execution of everything, so naturally, that was mine. We organized the documents. When they brought it up, I told them they had no chance. His terms were clear from the start. He took care of these legal obligations immediately after being diagnosed. I knew they wanted to talk to me so they could get Jack involved in the business, but I wouldn't. After a brief pause, they told me that since they couldn't have the business, they wanted me to leave the property to them, the home we had spent so much time creating. They wanted it for themselves since his family needed it more. Since we didn't have kids, it wasn't like I wanted that whole house to myself because it was spacious, and they said they were tired of living in their own home and needed a change. They planned to live on our land and rent their own house for extra cash. I was surprised they suggested this since after 8 years, you don't just walk up at someone's funeral and ask their widow to give you their house. I lost my anger, already sad, and I shouted at them to leave because I couldn't stand them. I had already chastised them twice, so I think they were irritated with me too. After I yelled at them, they yelled back and stated they were here for peace, but I was being a jerk and they didn't like it. I was accused of disrespecting the elderly based on my age. I said that they didn't even honor the deceased. My husband was scarcely buried when they arrived, hovering like vultures. They made it worse by suggesting that since I had respectfully declined, they would sue and take the property. My husband's will clearly states that I get everything. I don't know why they thought threatening to sue me would work given my husband was clear. I told him they would never win even if they sued me, and they stated it was my responsibility that their son hadn't spoken to them in 8 years and couldn't reconcile, which makes no sense. I was accused of brainwashing him to turn against them. They would ensure I got nothing from him. I told them to leave and drove home when they did. At the moment, I was furious and confused. My husband had asked me to play this movie for his parents if they attended his funeral, but I had forgotten about it. I entirely forgot about it till I got home. I'll discuss the video later. I helped him set up and record the video a month before his death. I knew what he said and that it would hurt his parents. I decided to take a break for a few days and then tell my in-laws where they stood with their kid and how it was their problem, not mine. A few days after the funeral, I contacted my in-laws. We were blocked everywhere, so I drove to their house and showed them the footage. They were astonished to see me, but I was polite and told them my husband had left something for them, and I wanted to show them. I knew they wanted to slam the door in my face but were interested and greedy. I showed them the movie in the living room. Regarding the video, my husband likely knew his parents would torment me after he died, so he took all the necessary safeguards. He was protected legally. For the emotional part, he made the video calling out his parents for their prior mistreatment of him. He claimed he had always felt less important in the household, because they always seemed to prefer Jack, the golden child, and they never tried to hide it. He then reminded them of all the ways they had mistreated him. Like in high school when his parents refused to pay for him to go to college but spent thousands on his brother, who just partied all night. When he started his first job, they kept comparing him to Jack, who was making somewhat more. Jack was older and 2 years ahead, making it unfair. Even then, he didn't criticize his parents, but they had never apologized for their mistakes. After not talking to him when he was diagnosed, they had no right to pursue me for what they thought they deserved. He gave them nothing, as they deserved. In the video, he ordered them to never come near me again, and that he had been dead to them for a long time, so his death shouldn't matter. He doesn't care if his parents or family are fine either. His only family has been me. This video was touching, and I cried at the end because of what he said about me, not his parents. After the video, my in-laws were dumbfounded. After the video ended, I pulled myself together, turned around, and told them that if they sued me. After 8 years without contact, husband's parents demanded his house and business at the burial after he died of leukemia. I refused, and now they're suing me. My 48-year-old husband died lately. After 20 years together, we married for 12. His leukemia diagnosis 5 years earlier led to his death a few weeks ago. I've accepted it. I'll miss him tremendously, and my life will change forever. He was sick the last few months of his life, so I'm pleased that he's finally at peace. I doubt I'll ever love someone as much as I loved him. Visage into someone else and came up with other strange notions. When I said I didn't have to prove anything, they called me selfish. I did not deserve my husband's inheritance. Since they sounded unhappy when accusing me, I've wondered if I did the wrong thing by playing that movie for them. Because even though they had consistently mistreated my husband, they were his parents and may have felt awful. Confusion is my current state. How about playing a video my husband left for his parents? Edit. Some of you are puzzled about whether I played that video because I wanted to. Because of that, and because my husband had specifically told me to play that tape for his parents, in case they tried to harass me after he was gone, and claim any property like they were doing. It's not like I intentionally did that to them. I was following my husband's orders to remove them. It was as much his idea as mine, so I wouldn't say I did this alone. Several of you have asked where Jack was during this, and I have no idea. He wasn't home when I went, so I don't know what he's been doing. I hope this clarifies. Update 1. I want to thank you all for your support in the comments of the first post. Losing a loved one, especially my husband, is hard. This kind and compassionate soul will be missed every day for the rest of my life. It hurts when people call him names, because I miss him and he's dead. The point of labeling him a doormat for his parents and a pushover in names is unclear. His absence prevents him from reading. I'm the one who'll read that, and I'm still grieving my husband. I don't need everyone's bad comments about him. I understand that everyone has an opinion, but criticizing the deceased is rude. So I don't appreciate it, and would like you to stop criticizing him. Apart from that, I appreciate all my supporters. My in-laws haven't contacted me after a week after I visited. When I left their house that day, they were furious and accusing me of everything, including trying to damage them and frighten them into backing off and filing litigation or disputing the will. They can do that if they wish. Their time and money will be wasted because I doubt they'll get anything from it. If they want to proceed despite the footage, they can. Who am I to stop them? I've been busy since then, so I don't need to think about this. I'm trying to focus on work because I have to put my emotions aside and worry about practical matters. I'm blessed that my supportive parents have been living with me for 2 days. They did all the housework because I was exhausted after work. Since I've always been forgetful, my father is still working but has assured me he'll do all the things my husband used to do, like pay the bills and get the groceries. My mom will cook and clean. I had told my parents that our cleaner departed for personal reasons a few days earlier, and the next day they showed up at my place with their luggage. They were so kind, and I'm grateful for their attention. Update 2: My in-laws are contesting the will. My husband's lawyer told me he wasn't bothered about it. We know they'll lose. What surprised me was that they emailed me to tell me that my plan of scaring them off with that video would not work because they would receive what was properly theirs. My husband was their flesh and blood before he was my husband, so they felt entitled to whatever he had built for himself. They said they were coming for the property, and also for shares of the business because they felt they deserved it. Thankfully, courts don't base decisions on emotions, so they may feel entitled to the world. But that won't help. That email will be useful, so I saved and emailed it to my lawyer. My parents are helpful and supportive when I live with them. Because they think my in-laws might respect my parents' authority more, they've offered to talk to them for a peaceful resolution. However, I informed them it's unnecessary because I want them to proceed with the case because I know it'll be a huge waste of their time and money, which I will do. People have been dropping by frequently throughout the past couple of weeks to check on me or give condolences because some couldn't attend the service and I've been busy with work and guests. I've barely had time to think about what I'm going through and analyze my thoughts, but a couple of days ago I was in my husband's office for work paperwork and almost broke down because I missed him so much and could picture him there. I want to tell him how much I love and miss him one more time, but I know I can't, so I think about it and let it go. My sole ambition right now is to make sure our business works well, since I know he would appreciate that and wanted us to be successful and wealthy. His ambition inspires me to work hard, so I am. Update 3: After 2 weeks, my in-laws have nothing from the will dispute. Jack, of all people, sent me a pretty unusual note yesterday. This startled me because he and I have nothing to talk about. I thought it was brave of him to approach me given what his parents are doing. We're not close enough to text each other. I hadn't blocked him because I didn't have his number, but when he texted me, he wanted to talk and asked to visit me at home. I thought that unusual and my first inclination was to say no and block him, but I gave it a shot because I had a gut sense I needed to talk to him about it. Since he was contacting me, I assumed it was about my in-laws. I agreed to meet him and invited him over. I didn't concerned because my folks were at home. When he eventually came over, he brought flowers and offered his condolences. He said he hadn't been able to say it at the funeral since I was busy with his parents, but he wanted me to know he was sorry. The behavior I expected wasn't this sweet, so I didn't know what to say. He used to be raucous and egoistic when we visited his family, but this was a different person. He hadn't a strong alcohol smell. It appeared like he had cleaned up his act 8 years ago. After some small talk, he warned me that his parents were going to defame me, and it would be ugly. They planned to lie about how my husband had borrowed money from them to start his business and now I was refusing to give them their money back. As there was no contract, they could not legally sue me. Instead, they planned to publicize this on social media. I don't know why they believed this would work. It was a foolish strategy. But I was glad Jack told me so I could stop it. He informed me that in the previous couple of years he had been trying to be a better person and had wanted to reach out to us several times, but after treating his brother for God knows how many years, he couldn't find the confidence. He apologized for everything, even though it was too late. He started crying, and I had no idea what to do. My father rescued and soothed him, even poured him a cup of tea to calm him down, and when he left, I promised him everything would be all right and that his brother would appreciate his gesture. Maybe I did the right thing that made him feel better. Although he realized his mistakes too late, he did come to his senses. For some, like his parents, I can say more. I don't think he did much wrong. His parents neglected both their children. They believed treating Jack like the golden child was helping him, but he was spoiled, and neither of their kids benefited. I feel bad for them. They deserved better parents in life. Update 4. I told my lawyer what Jack stated. We waited on them to create those posts so we could use them against them in court. Jack told me he'd testify against his parents if necessary. They finally posted on social media a few days ago after everything was resolved. I immediately sent them an email warning that we will sue them for defamation if they didn't take it down. I was expecting them to be stubborn and not take that down, but I believe they understood this was a losing battle and it didn't help that I informed them Jack was on our side, so they lost. However, they removed the ad instantly but threatened to take everything from me. I wished them luck and banned that email address because it was getting monotonous. Now they can do anything they want. I wish them well. They would need it now that Jack, their sole ally, was gone. I want to see how they handle this now that they're alone. I would play this video as proof that my husband did not want anything to do with them or leave anything to them. Since he had been mistreated all his life, they had only themselves to blame. My brainwashing and manipulation did not cause this, and I hope they realized that. Instead of accepting it, they called me a nasty person for playing this video, knowing they were still grieving their kid. Now I deliberately played this awful video for them. To relieve their guilt, they accused me of utilizing editing programs to morph their dead sons,